Paulami Roy Chowdhury loved the view. Richard was lying on the unmade bed, his smooth, tanned chest rising and falling in silence. Beyond the prone figure of the boy, she could see the Oberoi Hotel's swimming pool, surrounded by polished tropical foliage reflecting the late-morning Calcutta sun. Waiters in white starched livery moved silently between bathers, dispensing cocktails, mocktails, and other refreshments best added up in dollars. Life. Somewhere far away she could hear the roar of the city. For a moment Paulami wished the image would freeze, suspended in time and space, her eyes forever fixed on the inert, perfect shape on the bed, afloat in one of the city's most salubrious private hotel suites. She caught her reflection in the oversized mirror. Getting older was a drag. Abir, who spent his nights in filthy Chinatown music bars ogling women 10 times more tired than herself, was good for nothing but his money. The irony of having to spend so much of his money to get away from him wasn't lost on her. Having to hide a little scandalous behavior from the neighbors in Bagh Bazaar while he came home drunk was like a sore she'd been scratching for years. Annoyed, she kicked one of the legs of the four-poster, scuffing her gold-embroidered Punjabi jutis on the dark wood. She would have loved to stay with this boy, the first white boy she'd been with since returning from her studies in Leeds 20 years earlier. Richard had managed to pry her from her gilded cage, but the longing would pass. Richard wouldn't be able to solve her problems. Still, one could always use a thorn to remove a thorn. The air conditioning was turned up too high. Shivering into her best baluchuri sari, Paulami snapped out of her well-deserved revelry. Her gaze drifted away from the movie scene she'd created for herself. She let go and sashayed away from her lover towards the phone. Things to do. People to call. Life in Calcutta wasn't a holiday. Life in Calcutta was murder. And time was its most reliable assassin. The lift operator, a small grizzled man from UP who hadn't seen the sun in years, showed Madhurima Maitra into the bar. She'd never set foot in the Broadway Hotel. She certainly had never been in the hotel's ground-floor night spot, now virtually empty and smelling of stale cigarette smoke, spilt beer, and the kind of existences she had little time for outside her professional life. Madhurima didn't go to bars. At least the air conditioning worked. It was easy to spot Becker, the only foreigner in the dingy room, installed at a small table, a large bottle of Kingfisher in front of him. Who drank at 6 p.m.? She thanked the lift man and wound her way between the tightly packed tables towards Becker. She'd checked the hotel register. He was a photographer. He'd booked in for a week. As she got closer, she made a quick appraisal. She already knew Becker was in his mid-20s, a few years younger than herself. He had provided an address in London and had entered the country on a 6-month tourist visa, also issued in London. The hotel had furnished her with a C-form and a photostat of his passport. The foreigner was sitting down, but she could tell that he was pretty tall. Broad shoulders, a face a little too worn for his age, ash-blonde hair. His tan confirmed that he'd been in India for a month. His eyes. She looked away as he returned her gaze.